He thought no one knew the truth, that behind his polished speeches and confident smiles, lies were piling up like hidden cracks in the office walls. Every decision he took, every report he altered, every promise he twisted was a secret he assumed no one could see. But someone was watching. Someone was paying attention. And when the evidence finally spoke, it wouldn't whisper, it would shout, exposing every deception, every manipulation, every lie he thought he had buried forever. The office buzzed with its usual monotony. Phones ringing, keyboards clicking, printers humming. Amidst the ordinary chaos, something felt off. He noticed it first in the numbers' tiny inconsistencies buried in reports that no one else seemed to care about. At first, he brushed it off as error. But then the emails started surfacing. Messages from clients and colleagues contradicting what the boss had claimed in meetings. Every meeting became a performance. His boss smiled, nodded, and took credit for work he hadn't done. He praised initiatives he hadn't even led. It wasn't just arrogance, it was deception. And the more he watched, the more patterns emerged. Misreported facts, exaggerated achievements, selective memory. He leaned back in his chair, staring at the spreadsheet on his screen. His pulse quickened. It was a small, quiet rage, the kind that grows when you realize someone is playing with the truth, twisting it for personal gain. Around him, coworkers laughed, unaware. But he couldn't ignore it. Something had to be done. He opened his laptop, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Every click, every scroll revealed more discrepancies, more hidden lies. A plan started to form in his mind. If the boss thought no one knew, he was wrong. And soon, the truth wouldn't stay hidden in silence. He couldn't confront the boss yet, not without ironclad evidence. So he began digging, quietly, methodically, like a detective tracing faint footprints in the sand. Late nights became his ally. Scrolled through old emails, cross-checking dates and signatures. Reports once dismissed as errors revealed a troubling pattern. Numbers altered, achievements stolen, promises twisted into lies. Every click of the mouse felt like peeling back a layer of deception. He copied files to a secure drive, took screenshots of hidden conversations, and documented every irregularity in meticulous detail. With each discovery, his resolve hardened. The truth was there, buried beneath polished presentations and smooth talk, waiting to be uncovered. Around the office, things continued as usual. Colleagues joked about deadlines and weekend plans, oblivious to the quiet storm brewing behind closed doors. But he noticed subtle signs too. Hushed conversations abruptly ending when he approached. A nervous glance from a coworker who had witnessed the boss bending facts. They didn't have proof, yet they only felt it. And that was enough. He smiled to himself, a small, private victory. Soon, the evidence wouldn't just speak, would scream. The evidence was piling up, but so was the danger. One wrong move, one accidental slip, and everything he had uncovered could backfire, costing him his job or worse, his reputation. He walked through the office with cautious eyes, pretending to focus on his own tasks while mentally mapping the web of lies around him. Every conversation, every glance, every casual meeting became a potential trap. He knew the boss's temperament well, quick to anger, skilled at intimidation, and masterful at spinning stories. Confronting him without preparation would be reckless. So he planned in silence, encrypting files, making copies, hiding them in places even the boss couldn't access. He reached out subtly to a few trusted colleagues, feeling out who could be an ally without revealing too much. Even at home, his mind couldn't rest. He replayed meetings, emails, and phone calls, analyzing every detail. Each lie the boss had told became a puzzle piece, and slowly, methodically, he began assembling the bigger picture. The tension was constant, a low hum under every thought, reminding him how high the stakes were. But the risk only strengthened his resolve. He understood one thing clearly: some truths are worth exposing, even if it meant walking a dangerous path. The boss may have thought he was untouchable, but patience, caution, and evidence were about to prove otherwise. The day had finally arrived. He walked into the boss's office, evidence in hand, heart steady, but mind razor-sharp. The boss looked up, smiling as if nothing was wrong, but there was a flicker of unease in his eyes. He sensed a shift. The room felt smaller, the air heavier, every sound amplified in the tension between them. "I think we need to talk," he said calmly, placing the files on the desk. The boss leaned back, attempting his usual charm, a practiced smile masking irritation. "About what?" he asked, voice smooth but eyes darting. "About the truth," he replied. One by one, he laid out the discrepancies. Altered reports, falsified emails, misattributed achievements. Each piece of evidence landed like a hammer strike. The boss's confident facade cracked, his attempts to twist the narrative faltering under the weight of facts he could not deny. Silence filled the room, broken only by the rustle of papers. For the first time, the boss was on the defensive, stumbling over excuses, trying to spin lies that now felt fragile, transparent. The protagonist remained calm, unwavering, letting the evidence speak louder than words. By the end of the meeting, the truth had been presented, undeniable and unshakable. The confrontation wasn't a victory yet, it was a warning. The real reckoning was about to come, and there was no turning back. The moment of reckoning had arrived. Armed with irrefutable evidence, he presented everything to HR and the management board. The room buzzed with quiet anticipation as colleagues, some skeptical, some curious, waited. He laid out emails, reports, and timelines with precision, letting each document speak for itself. Every manipulated number, every stolen credit, every twisted promise became impossible to ignore. The boss tried to defend himself, his voice rising, eyes darting for sympathy, but the proof was relentless. Every excuse fell apart under scrutiny. Colleagues who had quietly suspected the deception exchanged glances, realizing what had been hidden in plain sight all along. The air in the room shifted, heavy with disbelief, shock, and finally vindication. When the final report was laid out, silence engulfed the room. The evidence didn't just reveal the lies, it shattered the illusion of power the boss had built. He had thought his manipulation would go unnoticed forever, but the truth, now visible to all, demanded accountability. By the end of the day, the office had changed. The boss's lies could no longer dominate conversations or decisions. The weight of truth had finally landed, leaving everyone with a clear lesson. Deception can only hide for so long before it's exposed. The office felt different the next morning. Whispers traveled faster than the coffee machines could brew, and everyone seemed more alert, more aware. The boss, once untouchable, now walked with a cautious, uneasy step. His confident smiles were gone, replaced by forced nods and careful words. The consequences had hit hard: demotion, official reprimands, and a loss of authority that no charm could recover. Colleagues who had felt powerless before now looked at the protagonist with a mixture of admiration and relief. Morale improved. Teamwork flourished. Projects moved forward with transparency, and the culture of fear slowly dissolved. It was clear that truth, when wielded carefully, could topple even the most seemingly invincible figure. He didn't boast or gloat. Instead, he quietly returned to his desk, satisfied that justice had been served, but aware that vigilance was ongoing. The fallout wasn't just about punishment. It was about restoring balance, integrity, and respect in a workplace that had been shadowed by deception for too long. Weeks later, the office had settled into a new rhythm. The tension that once lingered like a shadow had lifted, replaced by trust and cautious optimism. The boss's lies were no longer a threat. The truth had cleared the air. Colleagues worked openly, crediting each other honestly, and accountability became a cornerstone of the team's culture. The protagonist reflected quietly at his desk, thinking back to the long nights of investigation, the careful planning, the risk he had taken. He realized the real victory wasn't in the downfall of the boss, it was in proving that integrity matters. Diligence and courage can prevail even in the face of manipulation. He had learned something simple yet profound: silence and patience, paired with evidence, speak louder than confrontation alone. Lies can be clever, but truth is relentless. And sometimes, the most powerful weapon isn't anger or revenge. It's the quiet certainty that justice, however delayed, will find its way. As he leaned back and looked around at his colleagues, he smiled softly. The office had changed. Yes, but more importantly, he had changed too. The experience had shown him that courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it simply acts, and the results speak for themselves. He never raised his voice, never played dirty. He just let the truth stand where lies once ruled. And in the end, that was enough. because power built on deception always collapses. But truth, once exposed, has a way of changing everything. If this story reminded you that silence can be strength and patience can be powerful, stay with us because sometimes the quietest moves leave the loudest impact.